I think you ought to know that Elizabeth Cotton, Libba, was born and raised down in Chapel Hill, North Carolina, but she came to know my family up in Washington, D.C. And as I said earlier, she never thought of being a professional musician. She just played a little music when she was young for the fun of it, and she actually stopped playing the guitar for many years. Isn't that right?
Yes, that's right. When I joined the church, they told me not to play the ragtime songs and be a member of the church.
Is that right?
And I stopped
Well, what
playing.
got started you playing again?
Well, when I come to Washington to live, I applied at the department store for a job. I worked at Landsberg department store. They give me a job, sell dolls. I was just there for the holidays. Thanksgiving, Christmas, and New Year's. Mrs. Seeger, Mike Seeger's mother, walked
My
in with
stepmother.
two sisters, Pete's stepmother. She came in with two fine-looking children. That was Peggy and Barbara. She bought two dolls, one for each child. While she was waiting for the dolls to get wrapped, Peggy got lost in the store. I happened to be the one to find her, to bring her in to her mother. Peggy was crying, and I never could stand to see children cry much. When I brought her in, the tears was coming down on my cheeks. So Mrs. Seeger says to me, "Have you worked here long?" I says, "No." She says, "Well, if you ever decide to stop working here, here's my telephone number, give me a ring." I said, "Yes, I'll do that." So after New Year's, I stopped working at Landsberg department store. I decided to give Mrs. Seeger a ring. She says, "Come right out." The same day I went out, she started me to work. And I worked for her 10 years. She was a folk singer, music writer. They had two pianos, guitars, banjos, mandolins, all kind of string music. Because that made me think about what I used to do, play a guitar a little bit and a banjo. So Peggy kept her guitar in the kitchen hanging. So when Mrs. Seeger would go in to start her music, I'd get the guitar and go in the dining room, close the door so that I couldn't be heard. So I was in playing Freight Train. I was just playing it away. Peggy and Michael walked in. They said, "Well, Libba, we didn't know you could play a guitar." Well, there's nothing to say. I was playing the guitar. So Peggy says to me, "What was the song you're playing?" I says, "Freight Train." She says, "Would you teach me how to play that song?" I says, "Certainly." So from that, I started learning Michael and Peggy. Nights at dinner time, I'd cook dinner and put my dinner on the table. And that's about all the work I'd have to do. The kids would clear the table, wash my dishes, tell me to sit down and play Freight Train. So I wouldn't have much work to do after I cooked dinner. And they had a lot of boys and girls after they found that I could play, that all of them would join in and help clear the table, wash up the dishes, and do everything.
At that time, she wasn't playing at all and hadn't done for about 40 years. Back home, the preachers had warned her about worldliness and music. The Seegers were to change all that.
I never fail to be amazed. It's a regular guitar, but she's playing it left-handed, so her thumb plays the high notes and her finger plays the low notes. To those of you who have never heard her before, I might explain that her method of picking is now known around the nation among guitar pickers as cotton picking. Libba, how in the world did you get started on this kind of guitar playing?
I learned my music in my home. When I was 11 years old, I went to work and bought myself a guitar. When my mother would leave home to go to work, after mother was gone, I'd get up and put my dress on and go down among where the white people live. And I'd knock on the door. Someone would come to the door and I'd say, Miss, would you like someone to work for you? And they sometimes said no or nothing. I knocked on one lady's door, and when she opened the door, she says, what could a little girl like you do? She hired me. I said, Miss, I can sweep your kitchen and help with the vegetables. I can set your table. I said, you know, I can make a fire in your wood stove. She cooked on a iron stove then. Y'all know about them?
Yeah.
No, you don't. You've heard about it, but I did. I knew how to make a fire in this iron stove to make it draw so she could cook. So she says to me, come in. When I went into her house, I started to work for her that day. And I worked for her until she left Chapel Hill. And she paid me 75 cents a month. Well, I didn't know 75 cents wasn't much money. It was a lot of money to me. I'd never worked before. So one morning she came in the kitchen, she says, we're gonna give you more money. And she gave me then after that $1 a month. And I gave that to my mother and asked her to buy me this guitar. So she bought it to her sorrow. She didn't get no more rest. See, I was just doing this all the time. I couldn't play it, just making a noise. She stormed to me and tell me, she called me, babe, put that thing down and go to bed. I said, Mama, I'm learning a new song, and I won't learn no song because I didn't know one then. I didn't know no songs then.
That's a nice tuning. That's a very nice tuning. We're gonna fire the tuner, huh?
I think when I picked it up, I kind of did that
I
myself.
think we should fire the tuner.
Was there ever a time when you went out on the stage in front of an audience and felt shy?
I ain't never been much shy.
Was there ever any churches that you went to where you played your banjo in church and sang?
In the treasure,
Church.
I didn't play in the church. I sang in the church. I sang in the choir, but I didn't play my banjo and guitar in the church, no.
Have you ever played right-handed?
No. I'm left-handed, and I guess I'll be left-handed all the rest of my life.
Could I become a professional folk singer?
How did I become a...
Could I become...
Yeah, oh, yes. Oh, sure, you can, I'm sure. Oh, yes, you can. All you got to do is write your songs and sing them.
How long do you think it would take?
Huh?
How long do you think it would take?
Well, you're kind of young now. I guess you ought to be, you're about 10 or 12 years old now?
I'm about 9.5.
You're about 9.5. You want to become famous right away? Well, all I can say, you write you a song and sing it around like I did. And people hear you sing it. And that's what made me famous, that freight train song. And I never did think anything about it. Freight train, run so fast. Freight train, run so fast. Please don't tell what train I'm on. They won't know what route I'm gone. When I'm dead and in my grave, no more When I was a little girl between 11 and 12 years old, I went to work for a lady to buy myself a guitar. The lady paid me 75 cents a month. And after I worked for a while, she says, we're going to give you more money. And they give me 25 cents more, which made me get $1 a month. I saved this dollar and give it to my mother. Asked her to buy me a guitar. When she carried me to the guitar shop, she says to him, how much is the guitar? It might be more money than I'm able to pay. So he says, I tell you what I do. Your little girl want a guitar so bad, you may have it for $3.75. And that guitar was named Stella. They don't make guitar Stellas now. They're all Martins and Gibsons and something else. So Stella and I was good friends. I loved Stella, and I think Stella loved me. I banged it all the time, night and day. My mother used to say, put the thing down and go to bed. I said, let me learn this. I'm learning a new tune, Mama. Let me play this. Sing now, everybody. There is one old woman, Lord, in this town. Keep her telling her lies on me. Wish to my soul that old woman would die. Keep her telling her lies on me. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. Oh, baby, it ain't no lie. I know this life I'm living is very high. I tell a short story, I make it short. My granddaughter was with me. She was there in a wedding. She was 5 years old. She was a flower girl. But she lived in Washington. They sent her from Washington to Chapel Hill. When she was ready to go back, the lady that I worked for says to me, her sister's child was with her. She said, why don't you send Jane, that's my granddaughter, back with her girl, Betsy. So she went on the bus. The bus driver come in and says, is that girl with you? They were sitting kind of behind the driver. She says, yes. And he says, well, she can't sit there. You can, but she have to go in the back where the black sits. So they had a few words in argument. She said, just a little girl, somebody have to take care of her, where she can't sit there. So she took Jane by the hand. Jane is my granddaughter. Went to the back seat and sit back there. And when she sit down, the busman come back to her and says, you can't sit back here. So she said, why? This is where the black people said, you have to sit somewhere else. Now that's the kind of times it was. But for me, I never did run into things like that because I know what they want you to do, and I just do what they want you to do. If you go to look for a job, you wouldn't go in their front door. I knew that. Well, I wouldn't go there just because I'd go to the back door, see? And I never did run in. Nobody didn't have to say, you can't do this and that and other. I was always treated all right, but you just had to be, you and Jim Crow. We all people. My skin just blacker than you all, but I'm a person. I have the same feeling you have. And I hope I got a soul to save. And it's time for all of us to get together, because time is not long as it has been, I don't think. But anyway, I just want to sing this little song. I'm working on the building. It's a true salvation. I'm holding up the blood stain, a banner from a Lord. And when I get through working on the building, I'm going up to heaven to get my reward. So people, let me tell you, that's just like a job. You might have a job. You probably get paid but a day, about a week, but a month, every 2 weeks. But when you finish your job, don't you go to get your money or whatever's promised? Well, the same thing in serving God. You just serve him, and when you're through in this world, you get your reward in heaven, which is better than money. You get it and you stay there, it's all over. No more pain, no more death, no more sick, no more sorrow. You're just there forever in peace. So I think it's time for the black and the white to kind of get together and love one another. That's right. Now that's the way I feel. I feel that. I feel it.